So continuing from our part one, where I discussed about the interview questions that I typically tend to ask, and talking about the generic questions about EDI, and then slowly transitioning to Sterling Integrator, and then the map development. This video, I'm going to cover the typical questions that you can anticipate or like based, and then based on that you can prepare, right, for your future interview, is around the business process development questions and some of the administration related questions, right? This is not a comprehensive questionnaires that I'm giving, but at least I'm giving you an idea, a sneak peek of what you can expect so that you can fine tune your preparation. And feel free to like comment, feel free to reach out over LinkedIn or like through the comment section if you have any specific questions, okay, or you want to learn more about it. Happy to address them based on my bandwidth and when I see them, right? But let's get into this now. Once I get a sense that yeah, this candidate is good in mapping, he knows uh, how to create a map, right? How to compile it, how to test it, how to deploy it, right? On Sterling Integrator. The next pillar, right, within Sterling Integrator, which is a very big one, is the business process development. I mentioned typically there is a taboo, right, in the industry that when you are like getting started as a fresher, okay, you are not given the work of doing any business process development. Okay, you're giving the task of actually creating the map. But I would say, like based on my experience, okay, like both are important, both are very technical in nature, both needs a lot of learning, lot of time that you need to spend, right, to go through the documentation and things like that. It's not easy to even learn a mapping, so it's not like something is smaller than and something is bigger, right? So yeah. Now talking about the business process development, typically the first question that I tend to ask is that if he has done any kind of business process development, right, what is the tool, right, or what are the tools that he has used to create a business process, right? Now, most of the time I get an answer, okay, I have used the graphical business process modeler, which is a Eclipse-based tool, right? Okay, where you can drag and drop the services and adapters and then link them each other. It's kind of graphical in nature, visualized uh, properly, right? And then the code behind that gets auto-created, right? That's kind of, and if I hear that, and the next question I ask, okay, do you know how like to write a BPML code? Do you have you seen the BPML code? And what I try to do, or I try to sense is that are you a beginner in respect to business process development by asking this question, or are you really like uh, what you will have like a 300 400 level understanding, like a deep understanding of how to do a business process development and how much of experience you have? Because typically if a person has a lot of experience in business process development, graphical business process modeler is probably a place to start building things, but it's not the end state. Okay, typically I've seen the folks who are more who have spent a lot of time in business process development. They're more familiar on the BPML code, the business process modeling language code, right behind the scenes, and they do all the modifications in that XML struct, like it looks like an XML structure typically, right? The BPML code, if you have seen, right, what I'm referring to. So you should be able to take that entire code, right, from the existing business process, right, and then be able to edit them. And that tells me, okay, that you are pretty familiar, you are very sound in that like development, right? So that's kind of the reason why I asked that question, right? Now, the next thing is when it comes to business process development, I typically ask, this is kind of the very basic question that we ask or you can expect, is what is the difference between a service and an adapter, right? So I and you get that, right? What is the difference between both of them, right? Like an adapter is something, okay, which basically like the application is talking to external applications. So you need an adapter, okay, that should like send a request out to an external, maybe an SFTP server, right? And let's say your Sterling B2B integrator application is acting as a client. So you need an adapter to talk to an external SFTP server, just for an example I'm giving, right? Or maybe there's an SAP system that you need to interact with. So you need some kind of adapter. So adapter is kind of a service, right? Like service is, you can say, is a superset, right? Okay, service is all about like doing some task, right? It is doing something, right? You're getting some task done. But then within that, a subsegment of it is like when you're dealing with some external applications. That's why I use adapter. The terminology adapter means you're talking to a third-party application, right? And interacting to get your things done. So like all adapters are kind of a service, but we name it as an adapter, but all services are not adapters, right? That's kind of the difference. So I want to hear that from you, right? Now now the next question is like, okay, I give you a scenario, right? Let's say you have an external trading partner, and the trading partner is sending EDI, let's say an X12 850 document, right, to your system, and you have a business process which is bootstrapped to maybe a file system where the file is like being placed, or maybe it's a mailbox where the file is placed, and you there's a business process which is bootstrapped to that mailbox, and it kicks off, right? Now, if my requirement is, okay, or the business process that kicks off after receiving a EDI inbound X12 850 document is to convert that to maybe a SAP IDOC document. Maybe your backend is an SAP system, or maybe you need to convert it to a flat file or maybe CSV file, right? Irrespective of whatever the target format is, okay, there is some kind of transformation that is needed. That's for sure, and I'm highlighting that. How do you what are the services and adapters on a high level that you would use or that business process would have step by step? And then that's kind of the question, right? Like I'm trying to understand. Can you tell me the high level services and adapter that goes into this end-to-end flow that you will create using business processes? So I have seen a lot of folks, okay, stumbling here, not able to answer them properly. But like typically, what you would do, if I have to answer that, right? So I receive a X12 850 document, right? Now, my business process, okay, should have first a service, okay, that would take that document as an input primary document, and then it should be able to first identify what is the EDI standard of the document. It can be an artifact, it can be a trader form, right? So there are a lot of EDI standards. So my business process should be intelligent enough to understand the EDI standard first. So you need to have a de-envelope process, right? The de-envelope process would identify whether it's external and artifact, because once you run the de-envelope service, okay, then and it gets identified as an external document for our scenario, okay, then the next step would be to invoke a X12 de-envelope service, right? Like after the de-envelope EDI de-envelope service, right? So EDI de-envelope service, then followed by X12 de-envelope service, and then once the de-envelope service runs, okay, then typically it would go through the different envelopes that you have, the group level, the transaction level, the intelligence level, all that de-envelope, and then there should be, and I mentioned high level. I don't need all the steps, right? But that's just high level. So now once you have read all the header information and everything, okay, you have your like the transaction, right, which you have inside that embedded inside that EDI document. I mentioned about transformation. So now you need a map, and to invoke a map, you need a service, right? Then what is the service, okay, that you would use? So it's a translation service. So you need a translation service to transform the document to a target format, right? Once you have translated the document, okay, what do you need to do? You need to send it to a backend system. Now, I mentioned it can be an SAP system, right? For that, you need some SAP adapters to send it to SAP system. Or maybe if it is a file system where you want to place it, so you need a file system adapter. Or maybe it's a mailbox from where some other process might kick off to send it to the target system, right? So you should be able to talk to different use cases and be able to explain that confidently. So that's what I'm actually expecting as an answer to this question, right? Now, Once it is done, okay, I also maybe like sometimes if I have to deep dive, right, I want to understand, okay, what is meant by like primary document? What do you mean by process data? Can you explain me, right? What is the necessity of that? So these kind of questions may come in. I might ask, okay, um, what is DOM to doc? What is doc to DOM? These are couple of functions that we use. Okay, whoever has experience in business process development, so you should be able to explain those functions, right? Like, okay, DOM to doc. That means it's you have a piece of information in your process data, and you should be able to then create a primary document out of that. So for that, you need DOM to doc. That will take some specific information from the process data based on the tags that you give, the XML tags within the function itself, and then it should capture that and put it in a primary document, create a link to the primary document, right? Or doc to DOM. Doc to DOM means, okay, if you have some information in a primary document attached to the process data, you should be able to maybe take a subset of that information from the primary document and place it into the process data for your next services, right? Which might need some information from that, and it cannot read directly from the document. So you need to put it into process data. So what's the difference? When do you use that, right? Those kind of questions may come in. And then the next questions might be that like, so once this is done, okay, maybe we might move to some protocol level questions, right? Okay, what kind of protocols that you are aware of or you have implemented, right? And then the things that you can ask is around, okay, can you explain me how do you do a ACE to partner setup? Have you done it, right? And then can you explain me what is an MDN, right? Message disposition notification, things like that. So those are the like, you have to understand, right? Okay, so slowly from business processes, services, adapters, I'm actually transitioning to protocol level questions, right? Like AS2 or maybe SFTP might ask some specific key specific questions, like some kind of like public key, private key kind of questions, right? Okay, those kind of configuration that actually goes into those SFTP setup, right? Uh, and then once I get a feel that yeah, he's aware of this specific protocol level questions. Okay, based on your answers, okay, the questions might differ, right? Okay, I can take it to some that if I want to deep dive, okay, if I understand you're not confident in specific question, okay, I might try to try to gauge more in detail, okay, to pull that answer out of it. See, the whole idea of an interview is not to reject you, rather understanding your strong areas, and then there's always a room of improvement, right? So I'm trying to see, okay, how I can select that candidate rather than rejecting. That's not the mentality. The interview is to select someone. Okay, there's a requirement, and that's why the interview is. That's why we all are spending time. So it's not a the reason that I'm trying to gauge all. I'm trying to understand. Okay, see, a person may not be good in everything, right? But then if he's good in something, okay, what is he good in? How much good he is in that, right? And the rest of the things he can learn, right, while he's working. That's kind of the intent. So don't take it negatively. That's not the intent. Now, so this is something like which I wanted to mention about like some specific business process development related questions. Like now there might be scenarios, okay, like I can ask like, do you know the versioning of business processes, right? If I have to switch from one version to another version, how do I do it within business process, right? Those kind of questions. Do you know different kind of persistence levels in a business process? When do you want to use full persistence? When do you need error only persistence, right? In different environments, you might have different reasons to do that, right? So those kind of things. How do you purge a workflow, right? How do you archive them? A business process has run, there's a BPID, all that, okay, but it keeps accumulating and then your database keeps growing. Okay, that's a challenge. So, and then slowly, if you see, like I'm trying to transition to admin related questions, right? Okay, have you so when it comes to admin related, like if I switch gears, right, in the admin related questions, it might be a question like, have you really um, like install Sterling B2B integrator, right? Do you have experience in installing Sterling B2B integrator, maybe on Windows server or maybe on Linux boxes, right? If so, okay, then the follow-up questions might be different, right? If not, okay, what kind of support that you have given when it comes to support project that you have been there, right? Like I might ask, okay, give a scenario. Let's say you face a production issue, okay, where you see your active processes have are continuously growing and they're not reducing. And then you see slowness when you're trying to log into your dashboard. Your trading partners are complaining they're not able to send messages. How do you then troubleshoot that kind of scenario, right? That's kind of very typical like support related question, right? So you should be able to address that. So you should be able to you should be aware of how many like what do you call queues are there, right? Okay, there are 9 queues, right? And what is the default queue? What is this queue tuning? What are the performance tuning parameters, right? And how do you do that, right? As an admin, so you should be able to answer that kind of question. If you have done any installation, right, you should be more familiar with those kind of answers, right? Like because you have worked at the infrastructure level, right? To and then like how do you do a hard stop? What is the meaning of soft stop? What's the difference between both of them, right? Those kind of do you have an experience in looking into the logs, going to a Unix box, and then if do you know like for example different kind of property file, right, at which update, right? Okay, like so those kind of like file level questions, right? So those are some of the admin related questions, okay, that you can anticipate based on your like answer, okay. The interviewer might go more in deep, right, in those kind of areas. So yeah, I think these are some of the things that I wanted to cover in this couple of sessions. Okay, I hope it was helpful. I know I didn't wanted to give an exhaustive list. I don't want to restrict to specific areas that you want to focus, but I'm giving a very high level understanding of what you can expect. That's kind of the intent. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Okay, how I can be more help to all of you, right? That's kind of the intent because I have been through that process. I know how tough it is. Okay, to understand a new technology coming from a background of, let's say, like we all come from an engineering background, right? We are not taught these applications in our college days, but if you have that mentality of like learn and be curious, okay, you should be able to scale quickly. You should be able to understand the nuances of each and every application, okay, and be able to be successfully delivering those projects, right, and become more and more confident, right, as an integration architect. If that's the goal, right, for you as from a career development point of view. So yeah, happy to help all of you. Hope you it was helpful, and yeah, looking forward to any feedback. Thank you, everyone.